Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our end-to-end with Snowflake and Qlik series. In the last video, we watched and learned about how Qlik and Snowflake work together for data integration. Today we're going to explore how Qlik and Snowflake work together on data analytics. So let's take a look again at the overall Snowflake architecture. Last time we focused on all the data on the left side coming in through the system being processed and landing in Snowflake. Today we're going to talk about the data coming out on the right side, whether it's operational reporting, ad hoc exploration and analysis, or even near-time analytics. We're going to talk about how the different components of Qlik allow us to make the most use of the power of the Snowflake engine to deliver valuable insights to the user when they need them to make decisions. So let's go ahead and take a quick moment to talk about the entire breadth and depth of what Qlik offers around the data and analytics supply chain. If we take a look over at our left, we're going to see some of the things we've already talked about within the data integration world, whether we're talking about change data capture, data pipelines, data warehouse automation with Qlik Compose, data prep, and the catalog. Those are all functions of our data integration suite. We're going to shift now to talk about really what we can do with analytics and insight. So if we talk about analytics, we're going to be talking about the power of the Qlik associative engine. What that's going to bring to the table is our ability to do complicated in-memory analytics, geospatial analytics, high-end data visualization, and extended data visualization with Qlik extended visualization packs, things that are built into the product, as well as our ability to use third-party extensions, and our server-side extension engine, which allows us to do data science and predictive work with engines like R and Python, being able to add value on top of the very powerful Snowflake engine, being able to actually mix things like live query with dynamic views, mixed with in-memory calculations like we've always had within Qlik. We're also able to add a bunch of capabilities that take it past just being able to visualize the data. Whether we're talking about managed reporting with Qlik and printing, guided dashboards with the old and traditional Qlik view models, governed self-service, embedded analytics, mobile analytics, and conversational analytics with things like InsightBot. All of these capabilities come to you within the analytics supply chain, the Qlik data analytics portfolio. So we're going to dive today specifically on what we've done within data analytics and Snowflake, taking advantage of the power of both engines together to create a new and powerful solution. So one of the questions we always get asked is why Qlik? Why is something like Qlik Sense the most powerful analytics and visualization product on the market? And it really starts with the way that we organize information. The Qlik data model is something that is very, very unique and was designed to mimic the way that a human brain works. We work on the concept of association. The Qlik engine is of itself a correlation engine. And what we mean by that is in most traditional tools, most traditional query tools, they are relational based. They are based on structured query language. They are very Boolean, very binary. I ask for a thing, I see a thing, and that is the only thing that I am aware of. With Qlik, we give you associative insights, the ability to not only see the thing that you might be interested in, but to see all the correlations that you might be missing of that thing. So when we talk about the colors and the coloration of Qlik with the green, white, and gray, that's how we decide how things are in context. And we'll take a look at this in the demo. It gives me the ability to see not only what I'm interested in, but all of the possible and not possible entities associated with that. If I click on a state, for example, Washington, I will see the information, whatever I choose on that dashboard about the state of Washington. I, however, will also be reflected in the data all of the other values that are now not possible or out of scope by the fact that I chose Washington. Not only the states that I'm looking at, but all other associated data as well. This allows us to do very complicated AI work and machine learning to be able to see and give a user visibility into information that they might be missing by only looking at a certain element. Being able to take this information and present it in an easy to consume visual way is what makes Qlik Sense so powerful. And we'll take a look at this information throughout the demo. So let's dive down just a little bit deeper on why that associative engine is so powerful. Again, because we're going to be able to do the in-memory analytics or the mix of in-memory analytics with live data analytics, we're going to understand how that data fits together. Users aren't limited by the choices that have been made for them as this is a one-to-many join, or this is an inner join or an outer join. None of those concepts really make any sense in Qlik. All the data is observed at all times, which is very unique and very powerful. Because it's an in-memory engine, we're going to allow users to be able to work through massive amounts of information and be able to have sub-second performance. Mixing that with the power of the Snowflake engine, be able to mix in live query with in-memory, is where we really get to see this information from a dynamic views point of view become very, very powerful. Another thing that's often not mentioned is the smart search engine. The ability to actually contextually, as I'm typing a sentence, understand how the data fits together with color visualization. If I start typing a phrase, it will start telling me all the different permutations of how those words will fit together, and I can choose that as a user, and my entire application will be filtered on those selections of criteria. Again, the associative engine is the heart of Qlik and what makes it so powerful. Now that we understand we've got a phenomenal, powerful engine that's going to give us understanding about our data, we then have to, find a way to actually communicate that and deliver that. And that's where the power of Qlik visualizations really, really come to the surface. So all of the visualizations in Qlik are always linked with the data. So when I make a selection, everything is always in context. I don't have to worry about physically mapping one chart to another chart. So if I make a filter, everything moves and changes. All of that is implied and built into the product at its core. So being able to use many, many different types of charting, many types of different visualizations, as I mentioned, either provided by Qlik or added through third-party extensions, really open up the portfolio, being able to make Qlik the most powerful visualization tool on the market. So mixing this high-end visualization capability with the powerful analytics engine, and then extending that with things like third-party engines, R and Python, to be able to do dynamic calculations, dynamic AI and ML machine learning jobs, really makes Qlik unique and powerful. And there are other tools out on the market that allow you to do some R work or some Python work, but those are all done by desktop tools. We're talking server side. All users can benefit and take advantage of the power of these third-party extensions and third-party engines. So we're not just allowing it for some, we're actually opening it up, this world of data science, to all the users. The overall goal of Qlik, and the reason why we exist as a company, is to be able to take this information and communicate it with other people. Data in of itself is not of value. Being able to shape and craft and tell a story is why we're able to be so successful with the Qlik Sense and Qlik engine. This ability to take information, consume it on any device, anywhere, whether it's a mobile device, whether it's a tablet, iPad, large screen TV, Qlik by its nature is going to be adaptive. It's going to be dynamic. It's going to take advantage of whatever real estate and is designed to be scalable. And so, again, being able to share these insights, being able to communicate this information is the core of visualization and analytics. If you can't tell other people why this data is useful, it's not very valuable. So this component of Qlik is where we really tie it all together into the storytelling component of Qlik, being able to take that information, share it with others, and take action. So with that little bit of background and understanding, let's go ahead and jump in and understand and see what it looks like to take Qlik Sense and marry it up with Snowflake. And in this demo, we're going to talk a little bit about being able to leverage some of the data that we saw in the data integration component, which is around some of that SAP data. We're also going to go and talk about how we can monitor Snowflake usage using the Snowflake Usage Dashboard. We're going to talk about dynamic views, and we're actually going to go all the way to taking a little bit of a view into what we're doing with some dynamic alerting with a company we acquired recently, which is what we're going to now call Qlik Alerting. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the SAP data inside of Qlik that we got out of the exercise with the data integration component. So we're taking, again, the data that we saw be extracted from SAP, changed in real time with the change data capture based on those SAP transactions, loaded into Snowflake, transformed into a best practices data warehouse and data mart inside of Snowflake, indexed with our cataloging solution, Qlik Data Catalyst, and now we're going to go ahead and consume that information from Qlik Sense. So again, this was sales and distribution information. So if we kind of go through and take a look at what that data looks like now that we're visualizing it, again, this is demo data, it's IDES data, so it's not great data, but it is at least showing how this works. So what we can see here is we're starting on our main dashboard with our billing information, how many customers we have, how much we've sold in the different companies, what our year-over-year margins look like. And we can go through and look at that information at different levels. Whether I want to come in and understand how I'm selling per month, whether I want to understand what my set top performers are. I can see that this is actually mixed language information. So if I want to filter on a couple companies, I can. And now we can see that green, white, and gray engine take effect. As I make selections, the data all changes. Maybe I want to look at just what I've sold in October. And all of that data changes and updates. And I can now see the fact that I've made a selection for October, I've made a selection of billing, and I can see that in fact now I have this light gray, which indicates that I didn't choose them, but there were sales for these divisions in October. However, there were not sales for these other divisions in October, which is indicated by the dark gray. So again, all of this contextual relevancy is what is given by the Qlik Sense engine. So as I continue to go through this data and investigate it, whether I'm looking at billing detail information, for where my information was being detailed, I can see that Bangalore here consists for a lot of where that information was being billed. I can dive down into some transactional information. I can go ahead and look at shipping, on-time delivery versus late delivery. Now, again, bad data. Most of these transactions occurred in 2013, so they're just a little bit behind. And going through, again, looking at sales order, all the way down to looking at scheduling. So all of these entities are what we have available to us inside of Qlik Sense. So if you're an SAP person and you're looking at this sales and distribution, all of this information is going to be relatively common for you. You're going to understand this information. You're going to be familiar with it. And Qlik has gone through the process of mapping this information into our engine off of Snowflake so that you can go and explore it and analyze and understand your business. So this is just an example of doing this information with SAP. Now, let's go ahead and talk about another usage method here, which is going to be where we actually start leveraging the power of Qlik with in-memory data mixed with live data coming off of Snowflake. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. We're going to go ahead and start by signing in, and this is actually our Kubernetes version. Pardon us having to go through some authentication here. And what we're going to see is when we come into this entity, we're going to see that we've got several apps. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at this City Bike Analytics application here. So what we're going to see when we open this up is we have a couple different ways of looking at information, but most importantly, what we want to do is look at this hybrid page. So what this hybrid page is telling me is I've got some summary information that we've loaded off of Snowflake that's being stored in memory. So the information stored in memory is just sort of that high level aggregation of information. Now, as a user, what I can do is I can see this little icon down here that says, there's no live data here yet. You've got to get beneath a certain threshold. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go find some details we want to go find some information of. And once I make a certain amount of selections, I can see that now I've got this little icon that says, hey, you can go get the details. At this moment, when I hit this button, we now push a live query down into Snowflake to go get the transactional information requested based on the selections that we've made. And this will go and run. Snowflake's going to return that data. And now we can come back and see for these 3 starting stations, how many trips were performed, where they ended, did people have memberships, and other additional details. But this information was dynamically generated. These were push-down queries that happened at runtime. Now, if I go back and I make some more selections, for example, I want to come over and say I want to look at 3-day and 6-month free passes. I can now see that, hey, this data is out of sync. I will go ahead and refresh again. It will go send those additional filters down, rerun the query, and bring that information back to me. So now we're interactively working with Snowflake. At the same time, we're leveraging some of this in-memory summary information. So this interactive process allows me to work with Snowflake as it's best designed to. And I can come over here and see some of those constraints. The information that I'm pushing down, the limit I've got to have less than 50,000 records to go run this, and some of the selections that I'm pushing down. So again, this capability is called dynamic views. That ability to mix in-memory analytics with live query analytics off a system like Snowflake. It's only currently available on our Qlik Cloud and Kubernetes version, but will be released in the April version for general availability. So again, recapping, push down queries in Snowflake mixed with live in-memory aggregated data inside of the Qlik data model. So now that we've seen the Qlik Associative Engine at work, and we've also understood how we can add dynamic views to the mix to be able to mix the best of both powers from Qlik and Snowflake, we're going to talk about another value add that we have, and this is the Snowflake Usage Dashboard. So I created this as a way for Snowflake users and Snowflake Corporation users to understand their spend within the Snowflake universe. So what we're doing here is we're actually able to tap into a bunch of different tables that store the usage metrics inside of Snowflake and build a dashboard. Now, this information has been published out on GitHub. It's freely available to anyone who wants to download it, and I'll share that link here at the end of the video. But it allows us as a user to come in and understand what we're doing with Snowflake. So if I take a look from just our team here, Partner Engineering at Qlik, how we're using this system, and we're going to be able to understand some pretty quick information about how our team is interacting with Snowflake. Now, mostly we can come in quickly and see how that information looks like from a monthly usage. So we can see that we've used quite a bit over time here, averaging probably around $150 to spend a month, and that's pretty good number. We've only got about 5 people on the team. But I can actually see by coloration that this month we've got a tremendous amount of query usage versus some of the other months. So we only had 2,300 queries this month. But now in March, we've run almost 45,000 queries. And a lot of those are being run by me. I've been doing a lot of work with Snowflake, a lot of these dynamic views, which tend to drive up our usage metrics. So we can understand how that's going. So I'm D. Frericks, and if I want to understand what I'm personally doing, I can just click on myself as a user. I can see the amount of queries that I've run. I can see some information about the data sources that I tend to use, which are these SAP data sources. You guys have seen that from doing these demos. I can understand the queries that I've been running, whether the select queries, or understand all the queries that I've been running from inside of my system and kind of see what those spends look like on a monthly basis. Now, this information is dynamic. We're assuming a $3 per credit cost, and we're assuming a $23 storage credit. These are, of course, negotiable and completely up to your individual relationship with Snowflake, but these are high-level metrics that we've sort of assumed as the baseline. We can see the different warehouses that we're using to process the information. So it's a very powerful way to just come in and start looking at very basic information. So this is kind of the first picture we're going to see around the usage dashboard, is how is that information being used. Now, if we want to come in and start diving down a little bit, this is where we can get into our auditing and security dashboard. Now, we're using our own geoanalytics lookup, which we take in the IP address that Snowflake captures, and we're passing it through our IP lookup engine, getting a Latin long return, which we're then visualizing on the map. So it's a neat little value add that Qlik brings to the table. It's available on Qlik Sense Business as well as for Qlik Sense Windows. But this allows us to come in and understand a little bit more about the usage patterns of the various users. Where are they coming in from? What types of drivers are they using? What versions are they using? What do those login patterns look like over time? How frequently used is it? Which users are coming in from what areas? So if I again take a look at myself here, I can see that I'm coming in as a user from these different entities. Now, when I see dots like this is probably work coming in through our VPN. But some of these are tagged as Washington, some of these are tagged as Seattle, Redmond. These are all cities near where I live. Not sure why Portland is located down here, but again, sometimes IPs can throw out very interesting result sets. But again, it allows me to come in and understand a little bit deeper usage of my Snowflake metrics. Am I having, what was my action? It was a login. Is it successful? Yes or no? Are there any login error codes? Single authentication, second authentication, client versions, things of that nature. So these are actually, we had a conversation with Snowflake sales engineers, and these are the metrics that they wanted to understand about their customers and how they're using it. So we incorporated that into our dashboard. The final step is actually getting down to more of the performance metrics elements. When are people coming in and using the system? What types of warehouses are they using? Are things going well or things going badly? Are there failures? When are there failures occurring? What's happening with that? So we can see that at some point people have run queries that perhaps were not the best things to run. So I've got a query here that returned 1.4 billion records. That's a lot, it seems like. And if I click specifically on this query, I actually can see, well, it was run on a medium warehouse. It was successful. It was run on 7/26/2019. It was run on a Friday at 9 o'clock. And I can actually walk this back through the rest of the dashboard. Again, seeing this associative engine at play. Logged into Ashburn was the IP address here. It came from different locations, so maybe a couple people were using this logon to make this query. And if I come all the way back to the usage, I can see that even though it ran a long time, it really only kind of ran about $5 worth of query. Ran for an hour, cost $5. So it looked bad from what we were doing, but it actually was not a very, expensive query. So what's interesting about this is that when you dive down and take a look at these usage metrics, what we're going to see is that there's some allocations going on here. The level and granularity at which Snowflake captures the usage data is a little bit different across the different entities. So from a login point of view, I know exactly when thing happens. I've got a granular level timestamp. I can understand what users coming in, what query they're running, things like that. But the warehouse usage metrics are captured at a much higher level. So because of the power of the Qlik engine, we're actually able to associate that information and make those allocations dynamically based on the way that we model the information in memory, which is actually pretty cool. You couldn't do this with a relational tool. You just wouldn't get any values. But because of the nature of Qlik, we're able to add the value here of allowing to mix and match multi-grain, multi-timestamp information together to be able to get a picture of what the users are doing, what those costs associated with may be, and be able to really understand and fine-tune the interaction with that Snowflake system. So one last little bit of functionality that I want to talk about is what we'd mentioned earlier with ping alerting or Qlik alerting. This ability to come in and really get into the self-service automation. So I'm looking at a different dashboard here, and this happens to be looking at some of our R&D spend. So I actually want to come in and I want to do some understanding around, hey, I'm trying to track my information around my Snowflake usage, and if it happens to exceed a certain entity, a certain value or certain usage level, I want to be notified. Send me a text, send me an email. So we have this additional capability with ping alerting, or what we now call Qlik alerting, to be able to deliver this. So we're going to call this a Snowflake alert. And we're going to come through here, and I want to take a look specifically at my my spend here. So we'll go ahead and check this monthly spend, and I want to look at my usage cost. I want to, let's make sure I click, yep, I select that. I want to look at it as a dollar value. I want to make sure that, hey, what is, I want to, any spend that, well, in our case, let's just say is above zero. I just want to get notified every day about this information. What's going on? So I've got my condition type is a manual entity greater than zero. And I want to specifically track my warehouse start time. So every day I want to be notified on this. And now I've gone ahead and created an alert that will notify me every time that this app is refreshed with new data, what that spend was for my daily spend on Snowflake. And I say create alert. and my alert has been created, and that was it. I have now set up an alert that gets pushed to me every day with information about that alert. And if I come over and check my email, that just came in, that I've now established this alert, and the next time this app is refreshed with new data, it will send me that criteria, let me know how much I'm spending on Snowflake for that day. So the automation that we've added here really comes in with the Snowflake Usage Dashboard, or really any dashboard within Qlik. Hey, I've got some information, I want to track it, notify me when things happen. Really adds to an additional level of what we talk about with the full data analytics portfolio. So with that, I want to thank you for sitting through and watching both videos here on Snowflake integration with Qlik for both data integration and data analytics. Hope you found this valuable and useful. Please reach out to us over in Partner Engineering if you have any questions or want to go through any additional validations or have any technology things you want to vet out. But we thank you so much for your time, and please let us know if there's anything we do to help out.